San Baiskano, I'm Grace Brown. You're watching Talk With Me.
San Baiskano utsukchite. Hello and welcome to this edition of Talk With Me. I'm Grace Brown. My guest today is Dr. Д.Одонтуяа Монголын, the president of Mongolia's Palliative Care Society and a lecturer at Mongolian National University of Medical Sciences. Thank you so much for coming on the program today, Dr. Д.Одонтуяа. We're thrilled to be here with you.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Dr. Д.Одонтуяа pioneered palliative care in Mongolia, bringing relief from pain to those who are dying. After years of lobbying, she won approval to establish a national palliative care program in 2002 to support Mongolia's dying patients and those who care for them. She also helped rewrite the country's legislation on pain relief, as well as paving the way for palliative care in every IMAG. She's now a lecturer at the General Practice Department of the Mongolian National University of Medical Sciences, teaching a new generation of doctors how to care for the dying.
Well,
Thank you.
First off, tell me, how did you come to care for patients who are dying?
Oh, it's a long story. I started palliative care in 2000. In this time, I was a pediatrician and teacher of, with 20 years experience. But in 1998, our director obliged me to be head of the newly established family medicine department. I didn't like this obligation because I was already the pediatrician.
You were focused on children.
It's
funny to go from the youngest patients to probably the oldest.
Everything.
Right.
Family medicine includes geriatrics, gerontology, primary obstetric gynecology, and primary pediatrics care, and even primary psychosocial medicine, everything. I didn't like it, but I in 2000 had occasion to participate in conference in Stockholm. This conference was on palliative care, which was organized by support of Open Society Institute, especially for post-socialist countries. And this conference was crucial for my life, I think. I first time heard about palliative care, patients' rights, quality of life, pain management.
And quality of death.
And quality of death, yes.
Which is something that we don't often think about. There's a tendency, isn't there, in many countries, not only Mongolia, to prioritize those who can be cured rather than those who are definitely dying.
Yes, you're right. It was the first time I heard about palliative care, patients' rights, quality of life, quality of death, pain management, even pain assessment for children. I graduated Pediatrics Institute, but I never learned about assessment of pain in children. After this conference, I arrived in Mongolia because I was a pediatrician and I worked as a teacher of pediatrics department in Mongolian Medical University and consultant doctor in pulmonary department of the Mother and Child Health Center. I didn't know exists in Mongolia this kind of service or not exist.
You mean a service
palliative care service, yes.
Right.
And I went after this conference,
and
after arriving.
You pioneered palliative care in Mongolia in 2000, correct?
Yes. After arriving, I went to the Minister of Health and asked about existing this kind of services in Mongolia, but Minister of Health even didn't understand my question because terminology palliative care was new. Very new. When he understand this terminology, what about I'm talking, he said, it is not responsibility of Ministry of Health, it is responsibility of charity organizations.
Wow. So in other words, it's optional.
Yes.
Or it was seen as optional.
But in my personal life, my father died from lung cancer when I was first-year student in Leningrad Pediatrics Institute. I had no occasion to care for him, to say goodbye to my father, because my sisters didn't tell me. And when I arrived in Mongolia in my summer vacation, my sister told that my father had very severe suffering from pain, cough, dyspnea, and he was hospitalized in first clinic, a hospital, best hospital in Mongolia, but received just first-line analgesic. It was analgin and dimidrol injection.
What does that mean?
It means we had no pain relief medicine for moderate and severe pain in Mongolia.
So you found out that your father was suffering greatly,
yes,
but that he was deprived of something to relieve his pain.
In Mongolia. And when I graduated Leningrad Institute and already worked in medical university, my mother-in-law died because of liver cancer. She suffered from big ascites, it means fluid in abdomen. She had fever, pain, dyspnea, but I didn't know palliative care at that time, and I didn't know how to care. I just carried her, fed, changed, washed, and nothing. I can't relieve her pain, because in Mongolia we had just analgin, dimidrol, just the first-line analgesic. WHO recommend the 3 level of pain relief. In the first stage, we used anti-inflammatory drugs for palliation of mild pain. After that, mild opioids for palliation of moderate pain, and after that, if very severe pain, use it severe opioids like morphine.
And at the time, Mongolia only had the first kind for low pain.
Most hospitals has just first line. It means just medicine for palliation, just mild pain. But most patients with cancer suffer from by severe pain, but we had no this medicine, and Mongolia had just injectable morphine, and just oncologists had right to prescribe just 10 ampules of morphine. This 10 ampules was enough, just covered just 1.5 days treatment. And after that, most patients died because of pain shock.
Gosh.
It was very difficult when I started palliative care in Mongolia. But it's many, and I didn't know this when I started. I didn't know after this conference in Stockholm. I didn't know needs of palliative care in Mongolia. My knowledge on palliative care was just very poor, because 5 days conference in Stockholm, and my English was very poor. In Mongolia, we had any books or some literature with palliative care issues, and nothing, even in Russian. Not just in Mongolian, even in Russian it was not exist books. In Mongolian medical universities and institutes, colleges had no program for education palliative care for medical workers, including doctors, nurses, social workers, and no program, no medicine, no policy in the Ministry of Health.
How did you convince them to spend money on palliative care? Because Mongolia is now one of the top 35 places in the world to die.
It was new for government, new for Ministry of Health, and we need to provide many years advocacy and advertisement of this. I remember I first time organized it in 2002 leadership conference on palliative care, and invited presidential consultant, international consultant on palliative care, Jens Gerstvart, Vice Ministry of Health, Udval, and all health directors from 21 provinces of Mongolia and 9 districts of Ulaanbaatar, and all directors of medical schools and media. And in this conference, I used I distributed, translated into Mongolian WHO guides, pain management, palliative care. In this conference was supported by Open Society Institute. It was one of my projects for developing palliative care in Mongolia. And during this conference, even I translated and distributed the Catalonian experience. It means it was Catalonia. It's near the it's country with established palliative care, and they had research that establishing palliative care can save health budget. It was very important for me to provide advocacy, palliative care for health policymakers.
The economic justifications for palliative care.
Yes, it is economic justification, and at the same time for advocacy I used this our constitution. In our constitution was written every citizen of Mongolia have right to receive medical care, but in reality patients with cancer, late stage of cancer, patient with multiple drug resistant tuberculosis, for example, they were ignored. They sent to home and said, you are incurable stage of disease, we can't do nothing. But Stockholm's conference made me understand that each person, even incurable stage of life, have right to receive treatment, and the treatment name is palliative care.
Everybody is equal.
Everybody.
So
yes.
In addition to the financial and legal arguments for palliative care, there's also a moral one, a basic human right.
Yes.
To not feel such pain.
In 2004, 2005, 2006, we organized a conference with health policy makers to establish palliative care, why we need it. It is human right, it's, you will save health budget, all this kind. And Mongolia need more medicine like for palliation of severe pain like morphine, tramadol, and for workshops for availability of opioids. I organize it since 2000 every year in the Ministry of Health. In 2015, renewed health insurance law, and now all palliative care beds in all 21 provinces and 9 districts of Mongolia had same right, same price to receive palliative care. It's same like therapeutic patients. Palliative care patients will receive from health insurance 300,000 tuliks.
Aside from prescribing opioids,
yeah.
How do you care for somebody at the end of their life?
Yeah, nice question. Cecilia Saunders, she is founder of the modern hospice movement in the world. She established the concept of total pain. Total pain, it means physical pain, psychological pain, spiritual pain, and social pain. And our palliative care provide total pain, total care, not just prescribing morphine and medicine for pain. Physical pain, it means pain, nausea, vomiting, constipation, dyspnea, cough, bleeding, etc. Psychological pain, it means all kind of psychological distress like depression, anxiety, anger, insomnia, etc. Spiritual pain, it means the anger, grief, loss of hope, loss of meaning of life. It is different part of human pain. And social pain, it means social problems. And palliative care, not just improving quality of life of patients with life-limiting illnesses, but palliative care for improving quality of life family members, for improving quality of life that caregivers. For this reason, I teach to my students how to provide assessment of total pain and how to palliate total pain, including physical, psychological, social, and spiritual.
So does that involve therapy and counseling for the patients and their families?
Yes, and if you know, we have several hospices in Ulaanbaatar, Hope Hospice, Green Home Hospice, Agapa Hospice, Grace Hospices. All our hospices have a multidisciplinary team, which include not just doctors and nurses. In multidisciplinary team include the counselor, spiritual care worker, social workers, and it is palliative care can be done just by working together with multidisciplinary team, not just doctor who prescribe opioids.
We've talked about where Mongolia has become very strong, particularly for a developing country, palliative care. But one area where Mongolia is still struggling is liver disease, which is, as I understand it, the biggest killer in the country. Why is that? Why is there such a high prevalence of liver cancer, hepatitis, for example?
Liver, first cause of death in Mongolia is cardiovascular diseases, and second cause is cancer. And within cancer, liver cancer causes 40% of death rate, 40% of deaths within cancer. And I think it is not just because of not just because of good health education. You know, we still have many ger horozos, we say ger districts, streets. We still have many people who live in ger, and we have a very poor sanitation system in ger. You know, it's not possible to wash directly the hands after the toilet, for example. Yeah, and sanitation system is very poor because more than half population in Ulaanbaatar live in ger. And we are very late implemented in medicine that disposable medical equipments. Alcohol abuse, you know, alcohol abuse was very wide in Mongolia, especially it was very wide in 1991 when democratic changes was started in Mongolia.
Right. So Mongolia went to
being democratic,
a very regulated society to suddenly being able to do anything they wanted.
Yeah, if you maybe don't know, but I remember all grocery stores was empty from one day, just salt and acid. And we stay long line to receive by food card. For a young population didn't know about it, but we stay on long line to receive by food card bread, rice, meat for one day. Every day we stay on long line. And in the food card, government regulation, food card, we had 2 bottles of vodka every week. Even family who not drink
would suddenly have 2 bottles of vodka. So it wasn't really a traditional part of Mongolian life.
No, it was not. It was not traditional in traditional Mongolia. It came after the revolution from Russian alcohol abuse. And it was supported by wrong policy. Government policy was wrong. As a result, yes, and as a result, till now, we have many these people with cirrhosis, alcohol cirrhosis, and liver cancer.
Another key part of the problem is a shortage of organs. Is that correct? That if somebody has liver disease, it's very difficult for them to receive a liver transplant. There's a tradition, I gather, that bodies of the dead should be left intact. And there's also no law in Mongolia to donate your organs to somebody who is not in your immediate family.
Yeah.
What is your view on this? Do you think that organ transplants should be more widely regulated?
I think it will be a nearest future policy of the Ministry of Health, because I already teach to my palliative care students. I have lecture about how to prepare testament, and in this testament included the organ donations too. And I hope that it will be, it is human rights again, yeah, it is again human rights, and I hope that the policy of the Ministry of Health will change it, and especially in the traumatology center, all hospitals with emergency department will need the special form for signing organ donations, and people will do testament, and in testament will include some questions with organ donations too. Now we have noted this kind of forms, and you're right.
So I mean,
I hope
upon death it might be in future possible.
Mongolia, 90% of Mongolian are Buddhist, and they believe to reincarnation. Nobody wants to reincarnate with half of liver or
so
without.
There is a belief then, a religious aspect too.
Yes.
That
some religious aspect and some policy, health policy must be together. Cause this problem.
Right, right. You recently hosted a conference, is that correct?
Yes.
Here in Mongolia, palliative care.
Yes.
Tell me about that. What was the participation like?
Oh, it was conference with name Pain Management and Palliative Care. This conference was organized by together our Mongolian Palliative Care Society and Pain Management Society of Mongolia. We organized it together, and during this conference we established before this conference new journal with name Pain Management and Palliative Care. And this first number of this journal, I take it to you as a gift.
Thank you very much.
And this journal includes not just how to treat pain management, not just articles on results of researches and surveys. It includes some lectures, includes some news on pain management and palliative care. And this journal can be distributed to all medical workers because, 50% of outpatient ambulatory patients and family doctors' patients come to doctor complain to pain. It is not just cancer, chronic pain. It can be acute pain, teeth pain, eye pain, ear pain, and everywhere. For this reason, it must be very widely used regular journal, we hope.
So and this will go throughout the country to doctors who might not have as much access to continued learning as here in UB.
Yes, it is just the distance education even for district, province, hospitals, doctors.
Oh, that's fantastic. I want to talk about those patients who are dying and what we might be able to learn from them. I mean, you work with people who are at the ends of their lives. Based on all of the people that you've met who are dying, what is the most common thing that makes them happy or comforts them, and what's the most common thing that makes them regret?
Yeah, good question. Even we try to provide total care. We try to provide total care. I found out that each quality, palliative care for quality of life, for improving quality of life. But quality of life is subjective. One person, one patient in the end of life wants to be hospitalized, receive good treatment, infusion, not to be burdened to family. Other patient prefer to stay at home with loud people and be together with loud people and stay at home. Other person with same problems, even receiving at home good treatment, want to see, for example, the son who is in prison. Each person, improving quality of life of each patient is very subjective problem. And for this reason, we need to provide very good total assessment of patient and find out what can improve the quality of life of each patient, and after that implement our plan of care. But I found out each person want love, respect, human touch. It is very common. Without love, respect and human touch, any medicine, any nice hospitals, it's nothing.
You yourself have to see a great deal of suffering as part of your job. How do you cope with that psychologically? How do you continue to be strong for others?
I teach how to prevent burnout syndrome too for our students, and it is difficult. Many of our doctors and nurses burn out from palliative care job, and we together provide some prevention measures and
to each other.
To each others. Every hospices have some scheduled meetings for prevention burnout syndrome.
Wow.
And sometimes we invite even counselor or psychologists to our hospices. And for example, in National Cancer Center Palliative Care Department, Tuesday is a day for prevention burnout syndrome, and psychologists
every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday, psychologists have meeting with palliative care workers, including nurses, social workers, all who worked in this setting.
So you make sure that the carers, the doctors, are cared for too.
And I think my family, even my dog, is very supportive for me.
Yeah, animals can be.
It's very good for my to be strong and continue to do this very psychologically difficult job, because we every day facing the crying family, death, and it's very difficult.
You've referred to yourself, and others have referred to you, as the mother of Mongolia's palliative care industry. And even though you retired this year from medicine, you still continue to push for palliative care.
Yes.
Is that your plan going ahead?
Yes, I continue work, especially I continue teach palliative care for specialization of palliative care doctors, for palliative care for family doctors, and today I will have teaching for palliative care doctors. In future, in nearest future, we're planning to establish palliative care education program for family caregivers, and this education program will be for for education for family doctors and family nurses throughout the country. Establishing palliative care, teaching palliative care, to make people more better, develop humanity within population. It must be, and I can say that life begins with love and should end with love.
And finally, Dr. Odontuya'a, when you look back on your own life, what do you think will make you most proud?
I make my vision a reality, and development of palliative care system, not just hospice, one hospice, outstanding hospice, it is developing palliative care system in Mongolia make me more proud.
Well, it certainly is something to be very proud of. Thank you so much for coming on the program today, Dr. Odontuya. Wonderful to have you and to be here.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
And that brings this edition of Talk With Me to an end. That was Dr. Odontuya Davasuran, the President of Mongolia's Palliative Care Society. I'm Grace Brown, and you can follow us on Facebook. Our page is Talk With Me, Star TV Mongolia, as well as on Twitter at Talk With Me. Thank you very much for joining us, and hope you can tune in again next week. Daranging Naftarulik Huptar Baishtai.